Tamar has been raped of her virginity by her half-brother Amnon, and her full brother Absalom just tells her to be quiet and keep it to herself. But he harbors a hatred for Ammon, and he does it for 2 whole years. We pick up the story from there. Hi, I'm Ken Godevanis, and this is Digging for Scriptural Gems. Thanks for joining me today as we share together our study of 2 Samuel chapter 13, verses 23 to 29. It must have been sheep shearing time, a time to celebrate. Absalom had the shearers working on his sheep in Bel-Hazor near Ephraim. He invited all of David's sons and David to the celebration. However, David did not want everyone to go so that they would not be a burden to Absalom. He did bless him, however. Absalom accepted David's stance, but wanted to make sure David would let Ammon go. Even though David asked him why, Absalom insisted, and the king let Ammon and all his other sons go. Meanwhile, Absalom had told his own servants that when Ammon's heart is cheerful with wine, that is, when Ammon is drunk, Absalom would give the command, strike Ammon, and they were to put him to death. He also told them not to fear, as he was the one commanding them. So guys, he said, be courageous and valiant. And it happened just as he said it would. Ammon was struck dead, and all the king's sons got on their mules, and the text says they fled. We'll stop there and go digging for more gems. One would imagine that these celebrations happened annually at sheep shearing time. One wonders, though, why this event took place 2 years after Tamar had been raped. That made it harder on Absalom as well as on Tamar. And one wonders if Amnon, the rapist, may have struggled a bit, wondering when avenge would come and find him, as he thought it might. I wonder what the relations between he and Absalom were during those two years, during that period of time. Perhaps David himself did not want to go to the celebration because he was aware of the strife between the two brothers. Why else would he concern himself with Absalom's insistence on Ammon going? Or perhaps David was just getting on in age and he avoided big parties or wild celebrations. That's natural for an older person. We often don't want to go, even though we're welcome to events that our children plan for their siblings and their own friends. It's just a different generation. Absalom's plan for killing Amnon was such that it required the assistance of alcohol. That's another thing we notice here. Today, that approach is still used by some who are hell-bent on doing away with their enemy. However, Absalom here was also involving others in the murder, his loyal servants, and by extension, servants of the king. He told them not to fear as he was in command, and by obeying, they would be courageous and valiant like soldiers in a battle. What misleading. I pray none of us will ever go to that extent in dealing with our enemies. I pray we leave them to God to handle. Vengeance belongs to God. Finally, in this passage, I noted that all the remaining king's sons fled. The question is why? Why didn't they deal with Amnon? Their behavior is so typical of people today. When they see a crime against another person being carried out, just flee the scene. Don't bother helping or anything. Oh, and if you get a chance, record the whole thing on your cell phone. We need to stop and ask ourselves, if we were there, what would we do? Better still, if we were to witness an assault on a bus or train, what would we do? I know the answer depends on many things, but I also know we, people generally, but especially as Christians, we do not do enough at such times. We do not help. We worry too much about our own safety. Perhaps rather, it is time to act more, with caution, mind you, but trusting our God to be a very present help in a time of trouble. What are your thoughts on this? What are your experiences? Please write to us. Let us know. Next time we'll study what is reported to David and what Absalom does. In the meantime, we ask you to share these videos with others, study the Word, write to us, give us your thoughts on the questions we ask, send us your questions. And also we would ask that you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digging for Scriptural Gems.